Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to day 14, you guys. It's been 2 weeks straight of just noshing for every single day, which I've never done in my life. Steven's over there checking out to see if the audio is correct. Thanks, Steven.
That's what I'm doing.
Welcome to Tea Practice today. I'm super excited to have you guys on today. We're going to be drinking some incredible tea with some incredible, well, persons, people. So, welcome to today's practice. Eric from Tea Sleuth, Marco from Steep Tea, Trinity Asolalo, Lily Diff Love, Tea Traveler, welcome. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Good morning, bonsoir, bonjour, everything. So, in a moment, we're going to be waiting for Sohan from West China Tea Company to join us for today's pu'er interview. What we'll be drinking is quite possibly my favorite show pu'er of all time. It's his Xiaoduizi pu'er. It's a small batch pu'er that he's brought in from his friend, Tea Master Li Shulin in Nanmo. And it's this little guy here, yeah. And yeah, we're just gonna wait for Sohan to join us, and then once he pops in the chat, we'll spin him up. Yeah. When he comes in, just make really, really awkward noises. I don't know how you make noises on Instagram, but you know. Hi, Son! Can I get your autograph? Just freak him out, okay? Okay, make him, make him pay for being a little late. Joe, welcome to today's practice. Look at this wonderful stand I'm using today, which is actually the tea package that you sent us. I noticed that Sohan uses something similar to prop up his tea table. So when I'm sharing tea with people online, I like to kind of channel some of their tea energy into what we're doing. So yeah, Sohan apparently uses USPS boxes to pop up his tea table. He just doesn't care. He's just that cool of a cat. So I will do that today. It actually is a practical thing because when we get split on the screen, he's gonna come in and yeah, I'm gonna make sure my head doesn't get cut off. So I'm on right now. So let's see. I think he isn't on yet, so I'm gonna let him know that he's on. And then yeah, we'll be cool. While we're waiting, let me know what you guys are drinking today. Again, we'll be doing the rain butter show. It's a Xiaoduizi from Nanwo. And it's day 14 of Pu'er Love. There we go. There's our friend Sohan. Hey, there he goes. It's going. Connection magic.
Hey Ree, how's it going?
Hey, there we go, dude.
Awesome.
We're just I'm so happy that you're on the road and stuff. What do I show up? What do I show up in today? I gotta have like the glorious long hair. I gotta have like the nice linen shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we match. We're both wearing blue, kind of Chinesey clothes, so
Yeah.
we both have black hair.
I'm also channeling your, because I've been getting cut off in these Instagram streams when we're doing split lives. So I'm like, and then I just watched one of your videos again the other day, and you use boxes to prop up your tea table. So I'm like, I'm gonna do that too. So we're just really connected.
Nice. Awesome.
So yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
And we're drinking the same tea.
Yep. Correct. I got your Xiaoduizi show with me.
Right. Cool. Awesome. Yeah,
And a couple of extra Chinese practice. Not very much though.
I heard it sounded good. Your pronunciation was excellent.
Oh, thank God. Yeah.
Well, and
So
the
how
thing
do you
is, people in China will say things all kind of different ways. Everyone's got their own regional accent. So like, there's the standard Mandarin, which is, not necessarily what most people even speak.
Yeah, I got the Taiwan thing going on. I didn't know this, but growing up, I took a little bit of Mandarin. I didn't know she was Taiwanese, and then I was in Taiwan about 6 months last year total. Went there 3 times back and forth. So trying. Actually, this year my goal is to learn how to speak Mandarin fluently. So
Cool.
I've
Well,
gotten to the point where like I can talk in tea, but if someone asks me about my personal life, like how did you and Stephen meet? I can't. But I'm like, like.
I mean, that's really the more crucial information if you're going to be in China. You want to be talking about tea.
and how to ask for food. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I just want to
Food,
survive.
bathroom, tea.
Yeah, totally. So, for those of you who are on chat, how's our audio? I know that we had some audio imbalances from one of my previous interviews, so let us know if I'm too loud or Mike's not going on. But besides that, I'm ready to go. Yeah. I've got the tea going on. I want you to meet my dog too, Sohan, because we met your dog the other time. Come here, Bella. Come here. Come here. No. Come on. Come say hi to Sohan. And she's like, no, I won't let you.
Oh, there she is. That's a big puppy.
Yeah. Her name's Bella. She likes tea too.
She's super cute.
Yeah. So we will be drinking, again, I was telling people, this Xiaoduizi from you is just my favorite show pour of all time. I think it pulled me from the brink of like show like dislike. It's just so incredible. If you haven't had this tea before, oh my God, it's just insane.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I love rain butter. Actually I had who was it? It was someone was talking to me about a pu'er brick. Oh, it was my friend. A friend of mine was talking to me, and he was like, "I got this pu'er brick, and I can't get it to work." And it was a different pu'er brick, and he came up in tea culture here in Austin, drinking my pu'er, and I only get fermented pu'er from one guy, Li Shulin, and he does the Xiaoduizi and the Yuansheng pu'er. And people are always like, "Do you have tea from this mountain? Do you have tea from that mountain?" And I just don't, because not to say there's not good tea from other places. There totally is. I just don't know those people personally, and I have this long relationship with Li Shulin, and his tea is really good and it's really solid. And pu'er Yunnan is like, it's a jungle. It's literally and figuratively a jungle, because you can go there and you can get really, really gnarly tea, really gnarly pu'er if you're not careful. And so I just got this one dude. He does really good tea, and I just stick with him. And maybe one day I'll be able to find some pu'er from other regions of Yunnan, but for now I'm happy with just like really clean, nice Nanhua mountain tea. I'm doing I meant to grab a Bing of rain butter, but I actually ended up grabbing a Bing of purple rain by accident. It's the reason that we call it purple rain is, well, we named rain butter. So you have the 2015, I think. No, you have the 2009.
Yes.
Which one do you have? You have 2015.
2015.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So this is also Xiaoduizi tea. And when we're using this word Xiaoduizi means small pile. And it's to contrast with Wodui. Wodui is like the big classic 1970s style fermentation that you see with fermented pu'er in general. And that is like a huge pile, like a 1 ton or more, like a metric ton on the scale of metric tons of tea. And there's nothing inherently wrong with it. But the nature of, so the technique, there's nothing wrong with the technique. It's actually good to have a lot of tea when you're trying to, ferment tea. But the problem is that most farmers aren't producing tons and tons of tea. Like small farms, small single family farms aren't producing tons and tons of tea. And so when you get Wodui tea from normal sources like factories, like the Menghai, the Dai Tea Factory, the Menghai Tea Factory, which are the same thing now, the Kunming Tea Factory, Shaguan, they've got tons and tons of tea, and this is not all a bunch of tea from one farmer. This is teas from dozens of different farmers all around the region that they're putting together in a big pile to economize on the pile, and there's very little quality control. So really what it comes down to is like there's definitely a lot of skill and precision in the technique of fermenting itself. If you're not fermenting it right, you end up getting what's called the dui wei, the pile taste, which is natural, and it goes away after a while sometimes, but if it's not properly fermented, then it doesn't go away, it stays. And it's this kind of fishy, funky taste that some people have gotten used to it, especially like on the West Coast where they started drinking pu'er before the rest of the country. They were getting these imported teas from like Chinese medicine shops that would all be large scale factory production. And some people got really used to this fishy dui wei taste, this kind of muddy, fishy taste, and they actually like it. But it's not supposed to be there. Good fermentation should have a nice, clean, earthy, but not necessarily like fish food sort of taste. And
food.
yeah, that's a tasting note that I've gotten from factory teas before. And so a friend of
Yeah.
mine was like, I got this brick. It's from 2002. It's Shupor. It's supposed to be, you know, it's old. It's supposed to be really good, but I can't get it to work. And I was like, what do you mean you can't get it to work? And he's like, well, it doesn't break up, and it has this, you know, it doesn't taste the way I want it to taste. And a lot of the time, that's the issue I have with a lot of fermented pu'ers, is that there's not a lot of quality control on the leaves being used. Even if the technique is good, even if the master is good and they're using good techniques and they're skillful, if the quality of the leaves isn't good, you just can't make good tea. You can't make good tea out of bad leaves. And so that's why I know this guy. I've known him for like 8-9 years now, and he's like family to me. And I've seen his trees, I've seen his process. I've spent probably, overall over the course of my life, I've probably spent like 6 or 7 months just like in this guy's presence. So I know everything about his process, and the way that he does things. Whoop, tripping. My Gongda baby tripping. Okay, there we go.
Dude, is that your Gongda Bay? Holy crap.
Isn't that
That's
cool?
like a crazy one.
I'm going with Yunnan teaware today. I've got my Dai teapot. This is my Shou Pu'er teapot. And then I've got this Dai Gongda Bei, and it pours really
Oh,
nicely.
wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, and it's got just a brilliant pour.
I've been just surrounded by just information about Yunnan pottery and Dai pottery in general lately. I have Shiloh to thank for that. I know we keep dropping the Shiloh again and again, but just, man, I've gotten into teaware lately too, just over the last three years. I got some Japanese Nosaka clay over here. I got some Taiwanese wood fired over here, but I actually don't own any Yunnan clay, Yunnan stuff. So it's about that time.
Well, this is my last Dai teapot that is available for sale before I get this next batch. So it could be yours, Ree. This one's, I brought it. I haven't used it yet. I brought it because I was like, I'm always using Dai pottery, and I have Dai pottery to sell, but I never show the stuff that I sell on my live streams because it's my own personal stuff. So I brought this little dude today. This is from the Liangtu studio.
Oh my God. Don't look.
Right, and then the Shiloh, this Gongda Bei is from Liangtu. These are both from Liangtu studio, and then this one is from Chiu studio, the one that we went to, Shiloh, in Jinghong. But yeah, I like them both. I'd say that the difference is the Liangtu studio is a husband and wife. They do all this, like, he makes the pot and she puts the bamboo stick on, and it's really cute. They got a little teaware power couple, and the dude is Dai, and they make this teapot also. They do this beautiful, this is all slip design. This is red clay on white clay, and then they carve out the leaf design on there. But yeah, this is a neat little pot. This is the last of the last batch left, and they're all, thing with the Liangtu stuff is that it's hard to sell online because you have to take a picture of every single piece, because even individual cups, because they're all handmade, and so they're all a little bit different.
Yeah, I started taking a couple of Taiwanese wood fire pieces to the States, and it's just something I can't do online. It's just very difficult. It's like, it's not even stuff I would want until I touch it, and I'm like, oh my God, like, that's mine.
Yeah. That's the thing about teaware, is that you can't buy. It's hard for me to shop for teaware. I mean, I don't, but it would be hard for me to shop for teaware online without being able to touch it, feel it, and see it in person, because the magic. A good teapot back is what I found with a really good teapot. Is like you pour and it almost pulls on your hand. The suction is so strong. I don't know exactly how to characterize it, but it's something I've observed from like really nice teapots. And then this guy, I love this guy. This is the inverse. This is red clay with white slip, and you can see the difference. See how shiny this one is?
Oh, yeah.
I've been using this one for just about a year. And then this one is brand new. So it's got this like matte finish to it, but it will get shiny like this after being used. There we go.
Yeah, so friends in the chat, if you want anything from Sohan, I think you guys have just started working on the website again, but if you want to message him, he's over at West China Tea Company, or West China Tea, I think.
WestChinaTeaCompany.com, yeah. We're rebranding to just West China Tea, taking company out of the name. But right now the website is still WestChinaTeaCompany.com. And the website Yeah, we're making a new website right now. It's actually just about to launch, but old website's still up and functional. This teapot again is not on the website because I just don't put the individual handmade pieces online yet. But if someone wants this particular one, they can message me. This one's 85, I believe. But yeah.
Wow.
But
The
yeah.
value is crazy for those.
That's that Liangtu studio because it's just a husband and wife. They're just like, it's the two of them. And then I think they have one like staff member. They're just making stuff. They're over there just churning stuff out. And I think they source their own clay or something like that. They're right on the banks of the Lancang River, and they use clay from the Lancang River. So either they're making it themselves or they're buying it from someone who is right there on the same little area of the river with them. Because whenever I'm like, what clay is this? They're like, that clay out there. And they like their studio is so great. But yeah, I love using Yunnan pottery for Yunnan tea, and I've got Yisheng and Chaozhou teapots that I'll use for pu'er also. But there's something special about having Yunnan pottery for Yunnan tea. Let's see, and there's the rinse.
For sure.
And
so
yeah,
I wanted to ask, because Yunnan's one of the places I just haven't been to yet, and you know, we've been talking about this a little bit. So I'm not sure if I told you in depth, but we have this Pu'er Love Challenge going on Tea Curious. Basically, we've been going like hard with pu'er for the last 14 days. There's one more day. The challenge was to do 7 out of 7 for people who are like getting into pu'er, or like, I honestly wasn't in love with pu'er for a long time. Like I really love this show that you have, right? But like, it's like the one show that I like, you know? And then, so I was like, how come I don't really love pu'er the same way I love like oolong or white tea? I can safely say I love it now, so thank goodness. Thanks for joining us to do that. Some of these kids have done, can you guess the top number of pu'ers that's been drunk in 14 days?
How many pu'ers you drank in 7 days, you're asking me?
For one person.
Oh.
More.
10 pu'ers in one day.
Oh, not in one day, but just in the 14-day period. We got someone at 31 pu'ers already, is what it is.
Oh, cool. Yeah, okay, I can see that. That's less than 5 pu'ers per day. Wow, that's still a lot. Now, is this just show, or is this sheng and show?
It's everything. So, I mean, I modeled it after what I wanted to do, which is that I just need to push myself out the door and just go try other stuff. Because, like, your show has been, like, my comfort zone for many years, right? And so I haven't actually cracked into all my samples for a long time because I'm kind of scared of the stuff that's in there, right? So, like, honestly, It's been playing, like, Minesweeper a little bit. Someone was talking about this earlier, like, some of that stuff is, like, fish food. Or I had, like, a show the other day I told you about. I had it on live, and like everyone who was on the stream could just see me fading slowly into the distance, and the rest of the day I was just, you know, gonzos, right? So but in the process of the good stuff and the bad stuff, you know, you find what you like and what you love. So that's what we've been doing. But yeah, part of that is because I haven't been to Yunnan. So, and I think a lot of people on stream have never been either. So these places are just names, right? What's something that you, like, if you had to tell someone about what Yunnan is like, what would you say to them to help them understand?
Wow. Yunnan is probably, it's my favorite province in China. Besides, I'd say, like, you know, the southwest of China is my favorite part of China. Yunnan, for a long time, I said Yunnan is hands down my favorite province. I lived in Sichuan, so I've got some like loyalty to Sichuan. That's where I spent my time in China. And then also Guizhou. I was on live with Ray a little bit last week, and then I'm going to be live with Ray on Thursday. And she's from Guizhou, and she introduced me to Guizhou. And Guizhou is so nice, but it's a lot like Yunnan. I think it's like probably a lot like Yunnan was like 20, 30 years ago. Starting with just the west of China is less developed than the east. So if you think of like the American North and the American South, the west of China is like the south of the United States, and then Southwest it's full of minorities, and so and it's further from it's far from Beijing. It's really far away from the capital of China and from the historic Han homeland, and so that's these southwestern provinces are much less developed a lot of the time than the eastern provinces. They're not going to be like Shanghai and Xiamen and stuff. They're just a lot more countryside, a lot more rural. Yunnan obviously has lots of big cities. There's Kunming and there's Menghai but where you get tea is not in the city, it's in the countryside. And so I'd say Yunnan, it's very diverse. There's more ethnic diversity in Yunnan than any other single province in China. And China is really ethnically diverse. There's 57 different ethnicities recognized by the Chinese government. And so Yunnan has like 30 of them or something like that. And so you have, it depends on where in Yunnan you are. I'd say generally speaking, Yunnan is geographically diverse, ethnically diverse. And so you've got places where it's high and cold, almost like in the foothills of the Himalayas, close to Tibet. And then you have the jungle, the actual like tropical rainforest down in Xishuangbanna, where these things are from and where this tea is from. And I'd say tea wise, so ethnically extremely diverse. You have the Dai people who make this pottery. And then you have all these other ethnicities, including the Aka people who make this tea. So this pu'er is made by a guy named Li Shulin. Here's my little hemisphere, my little chunk left of purple rain butter bean. And he's Aka. He's not Han Chinese and he's not Dai either. He's Aka. And you find them all throughout Southeast Asia. They're in Vietnam and Thailand and Cambodia and Laos. And they've never had their own country because they all live on mountaintops, not connected to each other. So you've got Aka on this mountain and Aka on this mountain, but in between, in the valley, are the Dai or someone else. And so I'd say that, what Yunnan is like, it depends on what part of Yunnan you're in. That's why you don't have like famous Yunnan dishes. Like you've got like Mapo tofu from Sichuan, and you have like dim sum from Guangdong, and Yunnan, it's hard to characterize Yunnanese cuisine because every ethnic group has their own stuff, but they're all good. They're all super good. Aka food is amazing. Dai food is amazing. I love Dai food. Dai food, they do a lot of grilled meat and they have like salsa. It's like Mexican salsa. It's like exactly like Mexican salsa, but it's Dai. And there's, it's got like, it's just like a bunch of vegetables all blended up, and it's spicy and incredible. And it's great. And the people really know how to party. Like the minorities in China definitely like are really like, generally speaking, they like to sing and dance and they like to party and yeah, it's amazing. And then Nanhua Mountain specifically, where I've spent the most time in Yunnan, it's beautiful. It's you come up from Jinghong, which is the capital of Xishuangbanna, and then and Austin, sister city, and you're traveling, and as you come up from Jinghong, which is low elevation, you're traveling through all these rubber trees, and it's just like monoculture rubber, which is bad. And then you start to break out of that, and you start to get back into the natural ecosystem, to the rainforest, the Redai, the tropical Redai Yulin, the tropical rainforest. And the reason that you're getting out of those rubber trees is that rubber can grow at high altitude, but it won't produce latex. So the altitude of the climate has spared them from rubber monoculture and spared the ecosystem. And now the recognition of the value of these ancient pu'er trees, which only grow at high altitude and they need the natural ecosystem around them, has protected a lot of these old forests, or at least the trees in them, the pu'er trees, because people are like, oh shit, these trees are valuable. And so you're going from Jinghong to Nanhua Mountain, and you're rubber, and then you emerge into starting to get into like real forest, real diverse forest with lots of different kinds of trees and crazy big fat vines. And it's like, you get some of that National Geographic-y stuff. And yeah, it's the people who live there, the Aka people, they call them the Hanizu in Chinese. And they have a really beautiful culture. They build these gorgeous, gates in front of their villages that separates the village from the wilderness. And inside the gate is the world of humans and domesticated animals. Outside of the gate is the world of spirits and wild animals. And so they've got a fascinating culture. They're like an oral culture. They didn't have a writing system, so that like one dude in the village would learn their entire story by heart and then teach it to some other kid. When some kid was born, they would be like, this kid is going to be our record keeper. He's going to learn the Aka word, the Aka story.
That's insane. That's crazy.
And the gates, they have a little carved man, woman, and dog figure at the gates out of wood, so that shows that in here is the world of humans and domesticated animals.
Oh, I like this dog is with us.
Yeah, no, they're into dogs. They do eat dogs, but they also like dogs. So, you know, there's an interesting little dynamic there.
I mean, I like chickens, but I also like to eat chickens, so that makes
Yeah,
sense to me.
you
Anyway,
know, I think that, you know, if you're going to eat animals, you have to be able to reconcile that you can love animals and eat them at the same time. And I know that's a different kind of love than we have for humans, but most of the
yeah,
world they do love their animals. They have deep love and care for their animals, and they also eat them. They depend on them to live, and they eat them.
yeah, just something to be open to. I mean, I eat meat, but I also love my dogs, so I'm like, that's just, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely wouldn't eat my dog, but my dog is really tiny. And even if, I mean, obviously I wouldn't eat my dog for many reasons, but, you know, it just would not be worth it.
That's true. Yeah, well, a Chihuahua, is she a Chihuahua?
Yeah, she's a Chihuahua.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
No, not worth it. Not worth it. Even a hawk, I don't think would be interested in my dog. She's way too little. But,
Oh my God. My goodness. Um, Man, I just have so many questions to ask. What is it? I just love Nanmo tea. You introduced Nanmo tea to me, but ever since then, whenever I've drunk Nanmo tea, I've also really, connected with it very, very well. How is Nanmo different from the rest of the Yunnan like tea producing regions that makes it so magical? Why is it so awesome?
well, one thing is that Nanua Mountain has lots of ancient trees. So there's more ancient trees on Nanua Mountain than any other mountain in the Menghai range. So the Menghai mountain range extends from like Menghai to Jinghong, and it's all throughout Xishuangbanna. And there's more ancient trees in Nanhua than anywhere else in that area. So that's part of it, is that's got good genetics. Also, Nanhua, it's not super, it's not super remote. It's maybe a 30-40 minute drive from Jinghong, the capital of
Hmm.
Xishuangbanna. And so I think it gets overlooked a lot because you don't have to go on like a 4-day hike to get there. But and then there's also like these blowed up tea mountains right near there. Like Banjiang Mountain is not far from Nanhua Mountain, where Lao Banjiang comes from, this very
Wow.
famous, very hyped tea. So the terroir is good. Banjiang tea, actually, Elise was with me. We did a little trip to Banjiang Mountain, and we were like, okay, let's try some real Banjiang tea. Because the thing with Banjiang is that it's like Veuve Clicquot. It's so hype, that everyone's like, oh, and I've had it a bunch of times because people serve it to me. They're like, oh, an American, let me serve you this really fancy, expensive tea, and let me tell you how expensive it is. That's what they always do. And I had it, and it's usually Sheng. It's usually Gushu Sheng, and is what's famous from there. And I never really liked it. And then I would be like, oh, Banjiang, I've had Banjiang tea, but I didn't like it. And then invariably, like I had 10 people say this to me, oh, you haven't had real Banjiang. You had
Yeah.
counterfeit Banjiang. And I was like, well, it's like kind of being like gaslighted, because like, at what point can I prove that I've had real Banjiang tea? It's like, well, this guy gave it to me. It's like, well, that guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He had fake tea, etc. It's like, oh, I went to a Banjiang store. Yeah, overrated. Yeah, I agree, Jeffrey. That's kind of the moral of this story that I'm telling me. Um, yeah, so what we did was, I was like, God damn it, I'm going to drink some real Banjiang tea so that no one can tell me I haven't had it. So we're going to go to Banjiang Mountain, and we went there, and we didn't steal. We bought some leaves under the table because we went up to the mountain where they were picking the trees, and they're beautiful trees. But let me tell you one difference between Nanhua Mountain and Banjiang Mountain. Nanhua Mountain is green all the way up and all the way down. Banjiang Mountain is bald except for the crown. There's a crown of
Wow.
really nice ancient tea trees. So you've got a crown of a forest at the top, then you have bare slopes, and then at the bottom you have this valley tea, Bazicha, which is really low quality, low elevation, cloned pu'er that you can still call Banjiang tea because it technically grows within the environs of Banjiang Mountain, but it's not high altitude and it's not ancient trees. So a lot of Banjiang tea that you get might actually be real Banjiang, but it's not the famous Banjiang trees that are from the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
So we went up to the top of the mountain, and there was this big gate and this like a barbed wire fence and like scary sign that says like, if you get caught stealing leaves, you'll be fined like 10,000 yuan and everything. And so we went in there, and they were I don't know why it's bald hatching dragon. I have no idea. I don't know if it was deforested or what the story with that was, but it just looks just bare and dry compared to Nanwal, which is like jungly. And I'm not talking smack on the mountain. It's not the mountain's fault, but that's just an observation that I was there, is that you have a very small region at the very tip top that has a lot of very beautiful ancient trees, big, beautiful ancient trees. And we went in there, and another difference is Nanwal Mountain is like probably hundreds of little patches. Yeah, there's the main patches, then within those patches, individual farm families have a lease within that patch, and those are their trees. And so you've got a very diverse, like some people are growing clean, some people are growing like conventional, some people are trimming their trees, some people are cutting the big trees down, some people are, they do it all kinds of different ways. And you have other plants, it's not just tea. Banjiang, you get to the top, and it's all one company. It's just this one big this dude. He's probably from Guangzhou. He's not even from Yunnan, but this dude bought it in the early 2000s. He just bought the whole tea producing area of the mountain, all the ancient trees, and he was just really good at marketing, and he blew up the Banjiang brand. And so we got there, and there was this. We went in, and there was this big scary sign, and there was these workers picking the tea. And so they're not farmers. They're just migrant. They're seasonal workers. They pick tea, and that's their job. And they don't get paid a ton. We talked to them, and so Tsai, our guide, Tsai is Li Shulin's wife. She helps make. She actually loves this purple tea that we're drinking right now. That's her thing. Her dad helped develop it. It's a Zhuancha, and so she loves purple tea. She actually sent me this morning. She sent me a picture of the harvest, the purple tea harvest. Maybe I can send it to the chat in a minute.
Oh, great!
But,
yeah.
But so she was she speaks Aka, the language, and so and all of these migrant these seasonal workers are Aka people, because that's who lives around there. Just like we have like people from Mexico doing our seasonal like harvesting work, they have there's Aka people in that area do most of the picking work. And so she could speak Aka, and she went up to this lady who was picking one really nice tree, and she was like, hey, we want to buy some fresh leaves, some xianye, because it's cheaper if you buy the fresh leaves and like process them yourself. And so the lady was like, oh yeah, I can't sell them. You have to buy them from the office. So I go to the office, and they'll sell you the leaves, and it's like, I forgot how much, it was like 15,000 renminbi for a kilogram of fresh leaves, which is a lot of money. And it turns into a kilogram turns into a half kilo of tea, no, a quarter kilo of tea.
Yeah.
When it's finished. So we're like, okay, well, we're not trying to, we just want a little bit. And she's like, sorry, I can't sell the leaves. And then Tsai was like, okay. And she's talking to her Aka. She's like, how about this? Me and these foreigners will help you, because they get paid by the hour. They're not getting paid by their yield. They're getting paid by how many trees they clear off. So they want to, they want to pick each tree clean. So she's like, me and these foreigners will help you finish picking this tree, and then we'll keep the tea, and we'll pay you 250 kwai for these leaves, and then we'll just take them. And so we did that. It was like this shady, underhanded deal that was conducted in a different language. And but we managed to get, I think at the end we got like maybe like 200 grams of fresh tea leaves, like a very small amount of fresh tea leaves. But we brought them home. We brought them back to Nanwal Mountain, and we had Li Shulin process them. He had to use like a special little his like single tree wok to process them. He couldn't use his big wok. His big wok's too big. Yeah, it's not enough tea. But he has a special wok that he does like single tree tea with, because single tree tea, he produces that. You also don't get big yields at a given time, and you need to process it that day. So he's got a small process, shaching, system. So he processed it, and the next day we drank it, and like it was not, I knew where it was, it was, we got it from Banjiang. We picked it ourselves off the tree. We brought it back to Nanwal Mountain. We watched it being cooked, and we saw where he put it, and we came back the next morning. There was no opportunity for this not to be real Banjiang tea. Like, I know
Right,
this is
right.
real Banjiang tea. Also, Li Shulin of Nanhuo Mountain has no incentive to switch out like 200 grams of Banjiang tea for some other tea, because this is the horror stories you hear, right? In Yunnan is you try to buy pu'er and you taste something, it's really good, and you buy a big sack of it, and then like the farmers switch it out, and you're getting crappy tea instead of the good tea that you thought you were getting. So obviously, Li Shulin doesn't do anything like that. He wouldn't do it to me or anybody else. But also, this is the what I was trying to counter is everyone saying that you never know if you've had real Banjiang tea. I'm like, damn it, I know. I'm one of very few people in that I personally have met that can say for sure I've had real Banjiang single tree Gushu tea. And so we did it. We cooked
Dang.
it. We
All the
processed it.
buzzwords.
Exactly. And then we did a side by side. We did a blind side by side. So I didn't know which tea was which. I had a Nanhuo Mountain ancient single tree also that we had made because he makes that. We sell that. And then we had the Banjiang ancient single tree, like black market under the table one that we snuck. And I didn't know which one was which, but I just two-hand poured it in the two gaiwans, like side by side at it, same water, similar volume gaiwan, etc. And we blind taste tested it, and they were both good. But the Nanhuo tea, what I found out after I was done tasting, first of all, I was able to ID which one was the Nanhuo tea because I've had so much Nanhuo tea. And then, but I also the Nanhuo tea lasted longer. We got more steepings out of it. And I wouldn't say that one was like head and shoulders better than the other. At a certain point, it comes down to a matter of taste. But it definitely was not, it was not like one's quality was vastly superior to the other. I'd say that I'm not going to lie, the Banjiang tea was really good. It was good Gushu Banjiang single tree tea. It can't not be good. But the Nanhuo tea was as good. And again, if better, worse, it's going to be a matter of taste. But it was as good, and we got more steepings out of it. It had more juju to it. And they were both, it was a similar comparison because they're both from one tree. They're both from one ancient tree. Man, we match so well today. We have like the same color shirt, same. I've got my pants match my teapot. My pants match your teapot, actually.
I'm wearing skirts, so I don't got pants on, unfortunately. I was going to wear pants, but they moved, so.
But are they orange?
They're not orange, they're black.
Nice.
You're looking at my pajamas, dude.
Those are some classy pajamas. I've got my pajamas on under this. So yeah, that's my Banjiang tea story. Jujube. Oh, Jeffrey, you drinking Jujube? I was going to bring Jujube today. Jujube is one of our Yuansheng tuo. So just to finish that story, Banjiang tea, generally speaking, it's not better than Nanhuo tea, but it is got better marketing and they've got better branding. And one of the reasons for that is that one company owns all those Banjiang teas and they can do a concerted, directed, funded marketing effort. No one is advertising Nanhuo tea as a brand because Nanhuo tea is hundreds of different people. And so you don't have a concerted, directed marketing effort to make Nanhuo tea famous. Also, Nanhuo tea has no special characteristic. What I mean by that is Banjiang tea is known for being bitter. And, you know, there different mountains have different characteristic flavors that kind of become their tagline. The different patches of Nanhuo Mountain taste different from each other. And so when you're getting a blended Nanhuo tea, it does not have like a distinctive flavor. The way that but when you go to individual patches, they do. For example, the Duoyi patch is the sweetest on the mountain. The Banpo patch is the most fragrant. The Shito patch is the most bitter. And so you do get these different characteristics, but very rarely are people drinking tea from a single patch on the mountain. They're usually drinking a blend of different patches. And so I think those are some reasons Nanhuo tea is not, it's well known, it's easy to get because there's a lot of it and it's close to Jinghong. It's not as famous or highly regarded as like, and also you can get really crappy tea from Nanhuo. You could go to Nanhuo Mountain and be working with a farmer who uses pesticides and clones and is getting low elevation tea from the foothills of Nanhuo Mountain on the Menghai side, and because they've got fields there. And so there are people making bad tea on Nanhuo Mountain. Really, it comes down to the mountain's going to give you the terroir, and then the farmer is going to give you the quality of the tea. If they're sourcing good tea, if they're growing good tea, if they have clean growing practices, if they've got good processing practices, then that's how you get good tea. So you can't look at the name of mountain and be like, oh, that's good tea. It's just not how it works.
Right. I think there's something to be said about the curation we're lucky to have in the States, because a lot of the pour outs coming here is pretty good compared to what you get just like
Oh yeah.
there, because someone's bringing it in. It like goes through the filter. Hi, how's it going? Hey Steve, you should come on too.
That's Lindsay. This is my
Hi,
fiance.
Lindsay. Yeah, I was wondering, how did you guys, I heard you guys talk about this, but how did you guys meet again? You and Lindsay? Oh, I lost
At
you.
the tea
Okay.
house.
What's
She
that?
said, "How do we meet?"
At the tea house?
Yeah, we met at the tea house. And like, I normally have a very strong policy against dating guests from the tea house, and I did. We were tango dancing partners for like 8 months before. Well, it depends on how you count it. She says we were dating right away. I say we weren't dating until somewhat later.
Yeah. My partner Steven, he is also someone I met during tea. He's actually one of the people who came to one of my tea workshops, and I was like,
Nice.
I was actually dating someone else at the time, and I thought this kid was going to every single tea workshop because he enjoyed the tea, but I guess I don't know. He just wanted to be a teacher, I guess.
Came for the tea, stay for the re.
Oh, Steven. Yeah, it's yeah. So I get it. I was like, I need to like separate like the tea world with my personal world, but honestly,
hard.
it's still nice.
It's hard
I
because
mean-
tea is like every yeah, exactly. Tea's the whole world, and it's my whole world for sure. And like the nature of the tea house is that people come in and they're not just a customer, they're not just a guest. Every single
Yeah,
person who
yeah.
comes in and has tea with me, I'm developing an authentic personal relationship with. That's what's great about tea.
Yeah.
And so to try to be like, oh, you're, you know, and like I said, I'm usually really good about this. Lindsay is definitely the first tea house customer that I have become engaged to for sure. So there's that. And yeah, I'm usually pretty good. Yeah, you're definitely the only one. You're the only person in general I've ever been. Well, I was fake engaged in China for a minute. As part of the Peach Blossom Festival presentation fundraiser, I got fake married in Yunnan, in Sichuan, but that's a long story. But yeah, but that doesn't count. That was fake. But yeah, me and Lindsay met at the tea house, and then we started taking tango lessons together, and now we're getting married. So
There you go. I agree with that. It's just there's just something about the tea that like I'm an introvert and it's hard for me to like connect with people outside of the tea. Like put me in any situation with like a tea set in front of me and I can do whatever. I can just extrovert for 3 days. I don't care.
Yeah.
But the moment you take that away from me, I can't do it.
yeah, I'm like, what do I do with my hands?
Yeah, I'm like, what do I say? Like, and then it just so happens that the people who come into the orbit of the tea set are just the best people.
Yeah.
Like, if you drop me into a situation and I brew the tea, all the people I don't want to talk to, like, go away, and all the people I want to talk to and who I want to talk to each other, like, come talk. So, and then eventually they end up talking, so then I gotta talk. It's great. So,
That's so
That's cool.
interesting. I've noticed that too, is that I have never had someone come into the tea house and I've just been like, wow, that guy's an asshole.
I
You know what
know, right?
And,
yeah.
and I think that it's like everyone's an asshole to someone sometimes, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm definitely, there's people who, you know, think I'm an asshole, you know, even though I don't think I am. But I think what it is that people don't bring their asshole persona to the tea table because it's disarming. You know, it's this environment that lets you be vulnerable. And when someone's being an asshole, I probably should be swearing. When someone's being a jerk, they're doing it.
They're an
because
asshole. I mean, they're an
There
asshole,
you
you
go.
know.
There you go. But it's because it's a defense mechanism. You know, they've got their own like insecurities and their own feelings of being excluded, and they've developed this asshole persona as a way of protecting themselves. And when you come have tea and you feel included and accepted universally, and just for being there, just for existing as a human with a mouth that can drink tea, then you don't need to be an asshole. You can just be yourself. And so I
That's
think that it's you know, I think that you can lead an asshole to tea, but you can't make him be an asshole while he's drinking tea. I don't know, there's something there. I'll work on that later.
Yeah. I mean, I have asshole tendencies too. The more that I follow tea, the less I'm allowed to be an asshole. It's almost like if I'm being an asshole, the tea punishes me some way. I don't know what
yeah,
it is.
like it'll burn you.
Yeah, I don't get it. But I'm like, I'm not even that awesome of a person. I'm not that smart, but like whatever the tea is doing, just pushing me forward. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just be better in order to keep up with the tea. It's a little strange, like we're getting into like the esoteric and stuff, but it's absolutely true. And yeah, the moment I step out of the tea bubble, I'm like, damn, humans are sucky. Like people suck at me. And then I come back with tea, I'm like, wow, everyone's amazing. I don't know why people suck, because
it's fascinating. It is a really unusual phenomenon that I've observed it for years. Oh, here's Quinn. Yeah, I've observed it for years, but I didn't realize how much of a consistent thing that it was until Guanyin and the tea spot, until having tea houses and being like, wow, every single person who comes in here is fascinating, like is a fascinating person with an amazing story to tell and something amazing to share.
Agreed.
And I think my suspicion is that that's just how people are. That's how the world is. But people aren't given a good venue to be that best self. They're not given a good opportunity to express that part of themselves. So, yeah. So I'm super grateful to T for that. Obviously, for helping me meet Lindsay, who I would not have met without T, and everything else. But yeah, Ray is gonna write a book called like Stories from the Tea House, because she keeps a journal. I should be doing this. I should have been keeping a journal this whole damn time. But yeah, she keeps a tea house, and her tea house stories are from China. These are from Guizhou, from Guiyang, from the Master's Tea House, which is in this like 400-year-old temple. It's gorgeous, and she's like,
wow.
Yeah, like these such interesting people come in here, like a kung fu master from a Buddhist monastery, or like a Shao player with like a giant bamboo Shao that he carved himself. I'm like, yeah, I guess the tea house stories from China are going to be a lot more Chinesey.
And it's just cool, because whenever I just drop myself, for example, I was in Taiwan half the year last year, and like I don't know the person, but once you drop the tea, I don't know what it is. It's just so connective. I can't even put it in words. I'm not even that good at it. But yeah, if I can have a tea session with someone, they're instantly my friend forever, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they prove it wrong. But
right,
yeah,
exactly.
It's hard to explain. I'm sure all of you guys have seen that. I wake up every morning, I'm like, holy crap, the people are around me? What other like industry, work, career, whatever, do I wake up every morning, and every single person that I know, I wouldn't mind being stuck on a deserted island with. Mm-hmm. Like maybe 95% of you. The other 5%, you gotta work on it. But but
a peninsula. I'd be stuck on a peninsula with them,
At least the peninsula is bigger, you got more room to walk.
You can get to land, you can get back to the continent.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's attached. Like Florida's a peninsula.
But anyway, I'm coming to see the tea. See, this doesn't happen with every tea. For those of you guys who have been following along, I've been doing lives for 29 days straight now, Sohan, every day.
Holy shit.
Yes, I'm an introvert. Yes, afterwards I curl up in a little ball, and Steven's like, "Why do you do this?" It's my partner, Steven. But it's fun. But I feel like only certain teas can kind of bring out that kind of like candid conversation. I mean, you drink your tea, so I'm sure you have tea, like good tea all the time. But it just brings it out. I feel like it's just a joy, gratitude, kind of like, yeah. And trust me, I've like hit upon Shopur over the last like 2 weeks, and I'm like, screw me, like I'm really mad. Like life sucks. The Shopur sucks. Why do I even do this?
That's an interesting reality of tea, though, is that tea is really good for you if it's good tea. Bad tea is bad. Tea is
really
is morally neutral. It's a plant. It's like people. It can be good or evil. And tea that has been, oh man, it's just like people. Tea that has been abused by being planted in a place that it doesn't want to be planted, by being over-farmed, by being amended with pesticides and herbicides and all kinds of toxic chemicals, is toxic. It's toxic, and it can make you sick. And I've been made sick by bad tea plenty of times in China, in the tea markets of China. Like you said, we're lucky in America. We have a much more curated selection of tea. I'd say that if you take your chances in the tea markets of China, you can make yourself sick really easily. I've definitely made myself sick to the point of vomiting off of Shopur specifically. In Kunming, in the tea markets of Kunming, just I was there, I was all jazzed. I was like, hey, Kunming. I was there with Steve Odell, and we were going around, and I was like, oh, let's try it. Let's find some like nice aged. This is the trick. We're looking for old show. We're looking for aged show pu'er. Don't go around asking people for aged show, because there's no way to prove it. They can put it in a wrapper that says whatever they want, or they can just pull some loose stuff out and be like, this is old. People do gnarly things to tea to antique it. People do gnarly things to pu'er to make it taste older than it is and look older than it is. And and it's very interesting, because I'm more of like a sheng pu'er person. That's like, I love show pu'er, but my blood type is sheng. And then Steve, he's like a show pu'er person, and he had to warm up to sheng over time. And so me and him both got sick to the point of vomiting on this trip. Me by drinking show, and him by drinking sheng, because it's the Wild West out in Yunnan and in the tea markets, and that's real. Is that bad tea is bad. It makes you feel bad, and it's bad for you, and it tastes bad. And good tea is good, and so you have to pick your tea well. And again, bringing it back. Why do I only get tea from Li Shulin? All my pu'er comes from this one dude, Li Shulin, because he's good and his tea is clean. And that's the first thing for me with pu'er. If it's not clean, I don't care how old it is. I don't care what pedigree it has, what mountain it's from, if the trees are ancient or not. If it's grown with chemicals, then it's not something that I can deal with. I can't. I'm not interested in it. And so I've got this one dude. I know his stuff's clean. He's consistent. We have a good, close working relationship. I'm still getting 2012 prices, 2011 prices on his tea, because I have this long-standing relationship with him. I go over there and we drink tea together. We stay at his house. He cooks dog for us. We get like wasted. We chain smoke cigarettes. I play with his granddaughter. Like there's videos. Eric was there last time I was, his granddaughter was there. I was playing hulusa, my instrument, the hulusa, and she was playing a little plastic toy hulusa. It was so cute. She was 3. It was adorable. Like 2 or 3. It was adorable. But yeah, like they're my homies. Like, and like he'll give me tea on credit if I need to make an order. I don't have the money to make a big order. He'll give me tea on credit, and then if he needs to he needs to pay the mortgage on his house or something, he's like, hey, I need this much money. I'll send him the money. We're like family. We have this relationship. That's why I only get tea from him. And again, one day, if I meet some other tea farmers who I can develop a good relationship with and they have clean tea and I trust them, sure, I'll get pu'er from other places. I love pu'er. I've had great pu'er from Lincang and from Yiwu and from Mengku, and I guess Mengku's in Lincang, but all these other places, I've had good pu'er from these places. I don't source those. Maybe one day I will, but right now I'm happy to stick with this one guy because I know it's clean. And for me, that's the number one thing. But yeah, bad tea is poisonous. Like straight up, bad tea is toxic.
Yeah. For those of you who've been following us, it's like we've been trying to like talk to different people who are different people, right? Like the way you learn about tea, I feel like it's hard to learn from a book. It's hard to learn from a blog. I have a blog, but it's hard to learn like that. I feel like you learn by talking to people and just being around tea people. And if Sohan says one thing, and then the other guy says one thing, and then the other guy you trust says one thing, and that one girl says one thing, it's like maybe there's something going on, Like, so as someone who, I don't buy organic food, I should, but just in my like own like tea journey, I've just been like, wow, without anyone telling me, holy crap, I can only take like clean tea. That's it. Like we're Filipino, like I didn't grow up in any kind of like mindful, like biodiverse like household, like we put MSG in everything. I mean, MSG is cool, but like, yeah, I agree with you. Do you think you could tell us why this show is so clean from like an objective perspective?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, number one is that they practice a style of farming that's called shengtai nongye, which means ecological farming. And it's not youji nongye. Youji nongye means organic farming. Shengtai nongye means ecological farming. And in China, they're different. Youji nongye, organic farming. In organic farming, you can use fertilizer, for example. You can use organic fertilizer. You can compost, make your own fertilizer. You can fertilize the plants. You can water the plants. You can prune the plants. You can spray like tobacco water or garlic water or not Coca-Cola. It's not organic, but you can spray organic pesticides on the plants to get rid of the pests. Shengtai nongye, you don't prune the plants. You don't water the plants. You don't fertilize the plants with anything, compost or otherwise. You don't use any kind of bug repellent or insecticide, natural or otherwise, on the plants. These trees are living as though they, hey Jenny, these trees are living as though they're in the natural environment, just out there in the forest. They think that they're just trees. They don't know that they're crops. And that's the idea, is that wild tea is superior to cultivated tea. And why is that? What's the difference? And same with like wild truffles, you know, like wild ginseng. What makes a wild plant different than a cultivated plant? That it lives a challenging life. It has to deal with the natural cycles of drought and flood and cold and nutrient deficiency. And being in that challenging environment and having to live within the cycles of nature makes it better, because that's where it's supposed to live. Those plants are not supposed to be on a farm having all of their needs taken care of to produce a high yield. They're supposed to be living out in the world, being munched on by deer, you know, like having, you know, floods wash away their soil and dry spells. Some of the best tea that one of the best bings that we ever got from Nanwo Mountain was from 2012, and it was a drought year. They call that Sai Hei Cha, sunburnt tea. Tea from a drought year tastes better than tea from a non-drought year, but the yield is a fraction. You get a much lower yield unless you water the plants. If you water the plants, you get your yield back, but you don't get the benefits of that drought tea flavor, because the drought tea grows slower and has a lower yield, but every one of those leaves has more of those nutrients concentrated in it. And so that's one of the main things, is that they practice ecological farming. That's why their tea is so clean. It's not just the lack of chemicals, it's also the fact that these plants are growing up in a way that feels to them like their natural environment. And then a good question is, okay, and then he does his own fermenting. He worked at the Daiyi tea factory, the Menghai tea factory, for like 30 years, which is where it's contentious. They may or may not have invented the process for fermenting tea there. I think they did, because they have the oldest recipe. But you know, recent history, it's unknown who invented the shou pu'er process. No, there's no consensus on that. I believe that it was done at the Menghai tea factory. Anyways, they've been doing it as long or longer than anybody else. And he got really good at fermenting tea. And so fermenting tea at the factory, you use the Wodui process, tons at a time. When he started, but you have to have many farms worth of tea together to get that much tea leaf to do that. And so when he started he started growing his own pu'er in the year 2000, is when he broke off and left. He retired from the Daiyi factory and started doing his own because he didn't like the quality of leaves he was getting. And he didn't want to be an employee anymore. He wanted to be a tea master. And so he drew on this like 30 years of experience. And first he was just making sheng pu'er, but he wanted to make shou pu'er. And he used his experience of fermenting, and he had to tweak his process down and down and down to the size where he could do it with just, you know, a couple 100 kilos of tea, you know, up to maybe a ton. He can get maybe a metric ton of tea in a year's harvest, and then ferment it all together. And so he developed his own fermentation style, xiaoduizi. Lots of farmers do xiaoduizi now. And every one of them has either been taught by someone, or they've developed their own technique for it. So xiaoduizi can be done many different ways. You can do it on the ground, you can do it on wood, you know, there's lots of different ways to do it. But he had to develop his own xiaoduizi, which means small pile. Wodui, the big industrial process, means wet piling. Xiaoduizi means small pile process, and it's done with small amount. And then he developed the yuan sheng tuo process. Also, we're going to get kicked off in a minute, but I'm totally down to start another live stream after this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so his leaves are ecologically grown, and he doesn't have organic certification. I'm going to try to buy him organic certification. You know, I'm going to try and pay for the inspector to come out at some point when I can afford to do this, because people love that. You know, Americans want that organic certification. I'd say that the most organic tea in China doesn't have organic certification. Some of the certified organic stuff is not organic, because there's a lot of, you know, corruption around organic certification. Even in America, you get a lot of organic certification. There's a lot of loopholes in that certification process that big companies can, and also in China, small farmers who produce, you know, in I'm not going to say that small farmers produce the best tea. I'd say the best tea is produced by small farmers. You know, it's like all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. There are small farmers producing really bad tea, for sure. But the best tea in China is produced by small farmers, in my opinion, and I think that's I think that's not a controversial statement. I think that's a very universally recognized fact, and so I'd say that the best tea produced by small farmers is not generally going to be organic certified, because Chinese consumers have no faith in the organic certification, rightfully so, and B, these small farmers can't afford to pay for the inspection. It's a 3-year process, and it's very expensive.
We're going to get kicked off in 15 seconds. So those of you who are with us, we'll continue this right on another live. Okay,
let's do yours.
So,
you've got more traction on yours, so we'll join yours. You start up the live, and I'll join yours. Cool. Okay.
Going so fun. It's the real.
Yeah.
That's the real. Like I said, it's the tea. You know, if we're drinking some shitty tea, it's not gonna come out. I promise you.
Are you still brewing, by the way?
Yeah, I'm still brewing. But if we're drinking some like shitty, like I don't know, Itowen Genmaicha, it's not gonna come out.
Whoa.
It's really, hey, it's getting a little too real. Oh my god. Welcome back to the stream. We're gonna wait for Sohan to pop back on in just a little bit. Holy crap.
We're just getting good.
I feel like I'm just like, you know? So those of you who are joining us, we're talking to Sohan from West China Tea. He's super cool. We're talking about some stuff that, you know, you can taste for yourself if you'd like to, study for yourself if you'd like to. We're gonna wait for him to pop back on in just a little bit. So I'm sorry, I called out Itowen. They said, yeah, it's okay. Itowen can handle it. They've got their big boy shorts, you know, so it's all right. Yeah. Okay, let's pop in on again. Sohan, it's too lonely without you up here, man. I just want to look at you and listen to you and Lindsay all day. Hey. This tea, man, it's bringing out some real.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Wow.
Hey, but you should be on here too. I need some, like, you know, tea time too. What the hell?
I'm right here.
Oh my god. Okay.
Asian Americans wearing blue with their pu'er and their significant others.
The tea squeezes.
Yeah, tea squeezes. That's cute.
So so we were talking about organic certification. It's a contentious thing, but I dig this topic a lot. So please go on.
Well, what I was going to say, when you were talking about how, you know, you're saying you don't necessarily eat organic food and you're not like hypersensitive to stuff like that. I'm also not hypersensitive. Like Lindsay's way more sensitive than me. Like if there's something gnarly in the food or whatever, she's got all these food sensitivities. She can tell if there's like something not clean about the food. I'm not as sensitive as that. But the difference with tea and food is that there's no seasoning in tea. There's no salt, there's no oil, there's no spices. There's nothing to cover up the gnarliness of bad tea. And you take a conventionally grown vegetable and you wash it and you wash off those chemicals and then you eat it. And after it's been cooked and stuff, but you take conventionally grown tea with chemicals and you wash it and then you drink that water. So there's nowhere for and when I say tea is not clean, fundamentally, when I say tea is not clean, what I'm saying that it's got chemicals in it. That's to me, that's what it means for tea not to be clean. Other things that can contribute to low quality tea, low quality tea are clones instead of seed propagated plants. And some teas are supposed to be cloned. Oolongs are supposed to be cloned. The closer they are to the mother tree, the better they are. Pu'er is not supposed to be cloned unless it's like a specific cultivar, like Purple Grace that's been designed for its purpleness. But for me, like, you know, my tendency is towards seed propagated pu'er. I do love that purple tea. Don't get me wrong. I love Zhijuan Cha, and that's a clone. But generally speaking, I prefer seed propagated pu'er. Like this rainbow, the rainbow that we're drinking now it's seed propagated. And what you're drinking, your shu pu'er that you're drinking is seed propagated plants. And they're not all ancient. This is not ancient tree pu'er that we're drinking right now, but it is cleanly grown seed propagated plants. Again, they're just living in the forest and they're not being pruned or watered or fertilized or anything. So they are getting they're living more or less like a wild young tea plant. And then we do have ancient tree show pu'er. We've got Black Rain and Stone Axe. Actually, the next tea I'm going to make is an ancient tree fermented pu'er. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, fundamentally, there's nowhere for the quality of tea to hide, because you're drinking the rinse and there's no flavorings or anything else to cover up that character. And because when you're drinking tea, you're in your body, you know, you're feeling into your body to feel the chi of the tea. Got a hair in my mouth. And and it's because you're tuned into your body and you're feeling the energy of what you're consuming, then you're going to know right away, even if you're not a very energetically sensitive person or like a health nut or anything like that, you're going to be able to tell if the tea's not clean.
Yeah, I grew up drinking bubble tea, you know. In the Philippines, we had like Lipton with like extremely, like, it's not even Lipton tea bags. It's like dissolvable tea with sugar already in it. That's what I grew up drinking, you know, bubble milk tea and all that stuff. And then somehow just through the process of drinking tea, I could just tell, like, I'm not going to do it, you know, like if someone tells me professionally to tell if it's organic or natural or low intervention or not, I don't want to do that. But for myself, I can kind of tell, you know, just from like the feeling of it. So
I know good.
I know. What's that, Sohan? I lost you there for a second.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, I know what's good. If it's you know, I can tell. I know this tea is clean in a factual sense because I've been there. You know, that's at the end of the day, the only way to really know is to get it tested chemically. You know, test for the presence of pesticides and herbicides and everything. And you can go and pay for those tests. The tests are expensive, and they're always coming up with novel stuff. And so it's tricky with that, but that's like the most scientific way. And then as far as normal, you know, little, like if you're sourcing tea from dozens of little farms, the best way is to go to the farm, meet the people. And my Wi-Fi is Chad's way. Is it cutting in and out for y'all?
I have you in and out just a little bit, but that was the only point during which you kind of just went off into the hills.
Cool. Yeah, it's like that here. But yeah, for me, the best way to know if a tea is clean is go look at the plants. And I've learned over the years, what are the little tricks that you do. And it's not that hard. You look at the plants, you look at the dirt, you know, start at the dirt, look at the earth under the plants. Is it bare? Is it just bare earth, or is there like grass and like little plants growing up out of it? If there's no little plants, then that's probably because they're using herbicides. And then you dig into the soil, feel the soil. Is the soil like rock hard compressed, or is it can you get your hand into it? Can you break it up? If it doesn't have any porosity to it, that means there's no little bugs and worms living in it, and that means they're using pesticides, insecticides on the ground, which are really gnarly. You go and you look at the leaves, and do the leaves have bug bites on them? Do they have bugs on them? Do they have spider webs going between them? If there's no insects on the leaves, then that's not it. When you go out and look at a tree, there's going to be bugs on it. Even if they're not eating the tree, there's going to be bugs. Bugs are around. It's part of life. If there's no bugs on the plants, that means that someone's putting pesticides on those plants, and that's what we call gnarly tea. You got to you know, look at the plants. And then another little trick is the bud, the leaf bud, as it emerges from the stem at the top. You know, when you're picking tea, if the bud has a little bulge at the base of its stem where it meets the stem, and it should taper smoothly up. If it goes, that is probably because they're using growth hormones, or they shocked it with fertilizer. They put some fertilizer. You can get that from organic fertilizer too. So that's not 100%, but if it's a really distinctive, if it's not a smooth taper, it's definitely not ecological tea if it's got a bulge, but it could still be organic. Yeah. It's really, there's a lot of subtleties. And then with the dry leaf, you can tell if you take a dry leaf, you know, like a dry tea leaf, and you crunch it up in your mouth, and then you drink some cold water afterwards. And if it makes your throat feel like soapy, scratchy, like slippery and or scratchy, that's you're detecting the presence of pesticides, or sometimes it was fertilized with chemical fertilizer and not flushed properly. But those are my little tricks that I picked up, and there's a couple other little ones that I picked up over the years for determining the quality of teas. Definitely looking at the plants is the most certain way of doing it. Here's some water, babe.
Yeah. There's also a spectrum here for those of you who, you know, haven't gone to look at the tea trees. It's not like there's like really, really clean tea and then there's really, really shit tea. There's like a spectrum as well. where like, you know, sometimes you have a clean farm where they don't use any fertilizers at all, but they go into a difficult season and then they'll use something else during that season to kind of boost the plants. I've never been to Yunnan, but I've seen that kind of like spectrum in Taiwan. But what's missing in Taiwan is that very few of the trees there are the really old, like seed propagated stuff in Yunnan. And interestingly, Sohan, you know, I really like seed propagated wild stuff. It just agrees with me a lot. And I'm trying to like, you know, like my teacher is like, oh, you know, I want to do high mountain stuff, but they have this like old, like, it's not wild, but it's kind of like gone on to like the forest now. Old tea trees up behind their house, you know? And because it's not got that famous name, it's not got any value in Taiwan. But interestingly, there's some people who are starting to process it now, and it's getting some market value. So I'm really excited to get that kind of tea from Taiwan too, because a lot of it is, you know, seed propagated, and I mean like clonal tea, and you know, a lot of it's just very. If you see the pictures of the, you know, go to Sohan's website, you'll see the pictures of Yunnan versus like, I love Taiwan, right? But just overly beautiful, like terraced tea farms, because they're so perfect. If you look at the tea leaves, like every single leaf is just perfect. There's something wrong.
Yeah. Because that's not natural.
Yeah, there's just help from someone else. And even if you're not thinking about the ethical perspective of it, I just find it tastes less interesting to me. Like, I want to taste what Nanhuo tastes like. I don't want to taste what, like, the dude from Kunming came over and said, let's put this in. That's not as interesting to me, you know?
Right.
Like, if this kid's, like, selling Nanhuo, I want to taste Nanhuo, you know? Like, so, yeah, it's, yeah.
That
Can we ask
word
you,
is...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the word diwei. That's in Chinese, they say diwei, the flavor of the earth. That's what you want to, especially with pu'er. Pu'er and green tea, more than other teas, you really want to taste that diwei, the flavor of the earth. It's like, yeah, like you just said, when you drink Nanhuo tea, you want to taste Nanhuo Mountain. And especially when I drink like really good sheng pu'er from Nanhuo Mountain, especially stuff that like single tree stuff that, or, you know, Moncho's on here. I was drinking some sheng pu'er the other day that me and Moncho picked and helped to process. And as soon as I tasted it, as soon as I was drinking it, I was like, I am back on the mountain. Like, I feel like I'm on the mountain right now. It just feels like being there. And I think that's what really good tea does. If it's from a single mountain, better yet, if it's from a single patch, if it was grown and processed by one person, it can really bring you to the place. It's like it teleports you to the place where it's from if you spent time there. And even you know, you're drinking Nanhuo tea right now, even though you haven't been to Nanhuo Mountain. That's part of what we're both syncing up here is like, you know, our astral bodies are like on Nanhuo Mountain right now because we're drinking Nanhuo Mountain tea. And when you have this like clonal tea, when you have this heavily cultivated tea that is, they're reaching for consistency from year to year, consolidating it from many patches, you lose that distinctiveness, you lose that diwei, you lose the flavor of the earth a little bit. And then, you know, the modern Taiwanese tea industry was started by the Japanese during colonial Japan. They started growing tea there. And so their approach to tea is also very different. They're much more into breeds, clones, and the, you know, the industrial process. And I also love Taiwan and I love Taiwanese tea. It's just a different ethos. And also, I don't know if this was your experience in China, especially in Yunnan. People are always talking about the qi of the tea, the way the tea makes you feel, the energy of the tea. And in Taiwan, my experience in Taiwan is that people don't talk about it nearly as much. I found that people are much more focused on the fragrance of the tea. They're really into the huigan. You know, the huigan is good and the fragrance is good, but there's a lot less emphasis on the qi. And I found that also with my my homies, like my like Taiwanese tea homies who specialize in Taiwanese tea, there seems to be much less emphasis on that aspect. And so I think that could be completely wrong here. I've not spent that much time in Taiwan, but it seems like that's a definite cultural difference between mainland Chinese and Taiwanese tea culture, is that in the mainland China, there is, especially in the Southwest where the old trees are. Why do we drink old trees? I mean, do they taste that much better than other tea? Not necessarily. They do, but not necessarily. It's not about the taste. It's about the qi, the way they make you feel. And I find the same thing. The more art is in the process, the smaller the process, the better the qi is also of the tea.
I think it's just from what I understand, I'm lucky that my teacher in Taiwan. I mean, I call her my teacher, but when I say that to like especially Chinese people, they're like, "Oh, she's your lesson, right? You got to bow to her in the morning and stuff." But I almost get embarrassed because in front of her students in Taiwan, I call her by her first name, and it's just I've been really fortunate to be able to learn with them, but looking back now, I'm almost like lucky because they do pretty clean tea for Taiwan standards, they will like refuse to like do a certain batch of tea if like they feel like the farm they're working with has like put too much nitrogen in that during that year and stuff. I still think there's some like work to do, but I think just, yeah, Taiwan has a little bit less of that mindfulness about the feeling of the tea, but it's there if you ask the right people. It's just maybe the material is not available enough for people to like kind of bite into. But just over the last couple of years, I think it's becoming more of a thing. Yeah. So
Taiwanese teas, they have their breed, their breed name and their breed number. They've categorized, they've organized it in a very Japanese way. They've got this very scientific categorization. They can tell you what breed. This is Ruby 18. They can tell you what breed this is from. There are no pu'er breeds. I mean, there are. There's like Sichuan cha. There are pu'er breeds, but this tea is not from breeds. This is from just the seed-propagated, genetically distinct plants that happen to live on Nanwo Mountain and have been living there for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so you don't have like a clonal breed the way that you do in Taiwan or even in Fujian or Guangdong with the oolong. Oolong country is all about clones and breeds. Pu'er is about, good pu'er. My favorite pu'er is seed propagated pu'er. And that's where, and then, if you look at the qi of the tea, what is the qi of the tea? The qi is the life force of the tea. And the seed propagated tree will live for much, much longer than a cloned plant. It has a longer natural lifespan. And so if you think about it that way, and it's got a deeper taproot because that seed propagated tree will grow deep root down into the earth. And they're just more vital. It's a more vital plant. It has more vitality. It lives longer. And then when you drink that tea, you're also getting that vitality from it.
Right. They let me process a batch of, I think it is clonal stuff, but at least that tree has been kind of like hanging out for the last 40 years, kind of just doing its own thing. So it's got like the environment back around it. And while it was so shocking to me because I'd never gotten that kind of feeling from a Taiwanese tea because very few Taiwanese teas were like that. I mean, like I looked up at the tree and I'm like, oh my God, it's so massive. This thing's older than I am. You can imagine the accumulation of just everything there. Now this tea is a baby tree compared to the ones in Yunnan, But personally,
40 years is still like decent for a tea plant,
and Inxiang, there's a new cultivar that came out in Taiwan. I think they're interesting, but they don't have that kind of like that. They're interesting at first, and then I get bored after a little bit.
They're great. They've got a really strong up front. Like the Taiwanese oolongs are the most fragrant. They're the most fragrant of all the oolongs. They have the most abundant floral bouquet and this like beautiful, perfectly manicured, like 2 leaves, 1 bud, every single leaf. You open a pot of good Taiwanese tea and you pull out, and every single thing in there is a leaf bud set. And they're, like you said, they're beautiful. They're immaculate. And they have this like incredibly appealing, and that's why a lot of people start with Taiwanese teas. I got into Taiwanese teas first. This was my introduction to tea culture. Exactly. And I'm not throwing shade at all on Taiwanese teas. I love Taiwanese teas. But Hatching Dragon said it earlier. Taiwanese teas are like perfumes. Chinese teas are like meals. And I think that the emphasis is just different. What people are looking for in those different tea industries are different. In Taiwan, there's this strong emphasis on the fragrance and they call it the wai biao, the exterior. In Chinese, they'd say the external part of the tea is the focus. And and then they say what's the nature, the juice, the internal essence, that's the emphasis. And especially the further west you go, away from oolong country, away from the east, you get into the west where tea originates, and they get really into the internal part of the tea. What does it make you feel like? Are you feeling the place? It doesn't have to be the tastiest. It can be bitter. Some of the best teas I've had are hella bitter, but they have that substance, that nature to them. And then yeah, the waibia is the like the external, the superficial qualities of the tea, like the fragrance. Good fragrance is good, but like you said, it's like it's a book with a really great, beautiful cover, and then there's it's just not as much substance on the inside. Whereas a good pu'er for me, it's like you can't tell anything by the cover of the tea of the book. You've got to open it, but then there's this deep knowledge inside of it. So
agree.
Yeah.
I can't even add anything to what Sohan's saying. I just agree with everything he says, just from my personal experience. I think that, you know, I would just love to see that same level of kind of like depth appreciation in Taiwanese tea. So I keep dragging like my friends up in Taiwan. Let's go to like the tea, like the old tea gardens. I don't want to go to like, you know, the high mountains all the time. I want to like do the old trees. And the batch that I processed from those trees, you know, I'm a shitty tea maker because I'm not a tea maker, you know, so I'm a shitty tea maker.
Yeah.
It tasted like nothing, but it felt like everything because the tree was just, it's just incredible. It just so happens that, yeah, some of the best teas, they don't taste very sexy. They don't have much taste sometimes, but man, you just feel it. And that's what I'm willing to pay top dollar for also as a you know. But let's go back to Yunnan. We've been talking too much about Taiwan, and I don't have you forever. Can you tell us about this purple tea stuff? It's always been, you know, really interesting to me. I've gotten like bitten in the ass a lot by purple tea that I'm almost kind of scared of it when people give it to me. I'm like, what the hell is that? Let me say a little prayer before I drink it because, yeah. Can you tell us about it?
So there's good reason for that. Purple tea, so there's two kinds of purple tea that you get in Yunnan, basically. There's ziya cha, or just zi cha, purple tea or purple bud tea. And that's just like you get random purple plants. If you have a bunch of seed propagated plants, some of them will be purple. It's just it's a morph. It's just a type. Just like you have people every now and again, you get a bunch of humans, and one of them will have red hair. It's really rare, but it happens. Like my fiance. But but it's unusual and it's rare. It's genetically in the extreme minority. Same with purple plants. And then there's a bunch of different reasons that tea plants will be purple. Some tea plants can turn purple because of environmental factors. Some are born purple, or germinate purple and stay that way forever. But there's probably a broad and diverse genetic underpinning to purpleness in tea plants that's not very well understood right now because the molecular biology is not there. But what we do know is that in Yunnan and when you have these pu'er plants, some of them will be purple. And the same in if Kenya, you go to Kenya, tea fields, you get some purple plants. And so that's just a natural thing that happens. And so there's been the attitude towards purple tea has shifted over the centuries. Lu Yu said, purple is superior, green is inferior. Lu Yu, the author of the Cha Jing, said this, and he actually said that purple tea is better. But then in more recent history, there were farmers saying that, purple tea is bad. Don't pick the purple leaves, skip the purple plants. Some people are like, this one is possessed with a demon. Don't pick this one because it's got a demon. Other farmers would just pick it and just throw it in the basket, and you end up with like 1 to 100 ratio of purple leaves to green leaves. So it has an indiscernible effect on the overall batch of tea because the proportion is so small. And then I think it was like the 90s, they started researching, the scientists started analyzing these purple plants to see what makes them purple. And it turns out that they're producing plant pigments, anthocyanins, proanthocyanidins. These are plant pigments that are associated with like blueberries and acai. And, you get these in different plants, and they're associated with increased cardiovascular health and increased metabolic health. And that's a whole discussion to get into. But what I like about purple tea is that the qi is different. There is something distinctive about the qi and the taste of purple tea, and it's because of the presence of these plant pigments and then whatever else is going on with them. And so the ziya, the naturally occurring, we call it wild purple, but the naturally occurring purple tea plants are very rare. And so when people discovered that these teas are good for your cholesterol and good for your heart, they became very popular, and people started harvesting pure purple batches of tea. And it was very expensive. I remember when I first moved to China, getting a being of purple tea, it was like $300, $400 to get a being of this purple tea. And this is like being in China in 2010 trying to get a bing of this purple tea. That's because there wasn't a lot of the purple grace floating around. It was all naturally occurring purple tea. And then in, I think, 2005, 2006, I'm not sure exactly when they released it, but in the 90s, they started working on creating a purple breed, like a purple cultivar. So this is a clonal purple plant, and they grew a seed propagated purple plant that was a hybrid of a Nanwa Mountain purple tea plant, because Nanwa is famous for having lots of purple plants. They have a lot of ancient trees, and they naturally, just because of genetic drift, they have a lot of purple tea plants, more than most places. And so they took a Nanwa purple tea plant and some tea plant from like the Munghai Tea Research Institute. They bred them together, and of their offspring, they selected the most purple offspring. So there was the one parent was there for its purpleness, one parent was there for its yield and its hardiness, and they bred them together, and they selected the most purple plant from them, and then they cloned that one, and that's Zhijuan. And this was this was done by the Yuncha Danwei. A Danwei is like a guild, like a work group. And so there's Yuncha Danwei, Tsai, the lady who helped us get our sneaky Banjiang tea, and who is the wife of Li Lin, who grows this. Her dad was a famous administrator, like tea master and administrator in the Yuncha Danwei. And so she loves purple tea. He helped develop it. It was helped partially by him and his team during his tenure as the head of this Danwei. And so she has a special attachment to purple tea. And also for that reason, she gets first and second generation clones. It's like Gremlins, you ever watch Gremlins?
I have not, no.
Okay, so you've got the original Mogwai, Gizmo, and then the further away, and then you've got clones of Gizmo. When he gets wet, he multiplies. And the first generation clones are a little wonky, but they're not outright evil. And then when you clone those clones, they get further and further away, and then you go from the cute, fuzzy little Gizmo gremlin to being like the scaly, evil, slimy gremlins. And so tea clones are like that, but not evil per se. But the higher quality, the closer the clone is to the mother plant, the higher quality, the closer the integrity to the mother plant is. And this goes for oolongs too. If you can get Phoenix oolongs, I've got access to Needle on the Seafloor, a Phoenix oolong from the mother tree. It's really, really, really expensive, but it's super good. So if you can get to that mother tree, the closer you get to the mother tree, the better. So,
oh my God, yeah, that mother bush was just insane. Like it's the mother bush dancehall is the only stuff that makes me feel like I'm paying for drugs. Yeah, because I'm like, this is so expensive, and I shouldn't do this, but here's my credit card anyway. Because it's just, I thought I didn't like dancehall until I tried mother bush stuff, and I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
It's so expensive, but it's worth it. That's the thing about it. It can get really expensive, but it's worth it.
I think you need less of it too. Like the mother bush stuff, I use like a gram and like a big guy one, and that's it for me. Like it just got more.
People in the next building get tea drunk when you have really good tea.
Yeah.
So this one that I'm drinking, this is not Ziya. This is not the naturally occurring purple plant. This is the cloned purple cultivar, Zhijuan, and it's from first and second generation clones because we're getting it from the daughter of one of the people who helped develop it. She has access to really good quality clones. And so there's a huge range in purple tea. If you've gotten bitten in the ass by purple tea before, it might be that you were, the clones were third, fourth, fifth generation clones further away from the mother plant. Also, they could have had pesticides on them because once the tea is planted, you can do whatever you want with it. Again, I'd say 75% of the quality of a tea is going to be the cleanness of its growing environment. If you're growing it in a clean environment. What's up, Scott? We're growing it in a clean environment. And so we got a bunch of people in the house, in the room today who've been to Nanwa Mountain. We got Scott, we've got Mancho, Eric, Shiloh. So we got a lot of homies here who have actually been to Nanwa Mountain.
We're just channeling really cool right now.
But so again, the quality of the tea is really going to depend on who's growing it, who's processing it, and then this extra factor is going to be how many generations away from the mother plant it is. But yeah, this is Zhijuan Cha Purple Grace, the cloned cultivar that's been processed using that shell Dwade's a small pile technique and pressed into a little bing. And then for those of you who weren't on there, this is what's left of my little bing that I'm drinking. purple rain butter. We call it purple rain because we have rain butter, which is the 2009 small pot fermented shu pu'er, and then we started getting this purple shu pu'er, and so and it's pretty crunk. It's a pretty crunk tea.
So then I wonder, because, you know, I've had like shitty pu'er before and I've had shitty purple pu'er before. Why is it that, you know, just neck to neck, I feel like the shitty purple pu'er is the worst? Why is that? It's just me, or, you know, my personal, like, you know, body type that's just reacting weird to it, or?
Maybe. I couldn't say for sure, but probably because it's definitely clones, you know, and also, you know, it's new. And so because it's new, you know, it's within the past like 15, 20 years that people have been able to get this cloned purple tea, that if you're going to plant new tea, you're either going to have to clear out an old patch or you're going to have to establish a new patch.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to establish a new patch, there's not you know, most tea growing mountains, there's not a lot of high altitude real estate left unplanted. And so I've seen a lot of purple tea being grown at low altitude. And why is low altitude tea so bad? They call it bazicha in Chinese, valley tea. Why is it so bad? Because when you grow tea below its natural range, you have to use pesticides on it. Because if you don't, then it will get eaten by bugs. Because the bugs that want to eat tea plants, and because tea is naturally pest resistant, the bugs that really want to eat tea plants and don't live at the high altitude zone, or they're not as prolific at the high altitude range that tea naturally grows in. It makes sense. Why doesn't it grow at low altitude naturally? Because it gets eaten by bugs. So if you grow tea in its natural range, it has natural pest resistance. And so a lot of the purple tea that I've seen growing that, you know, just on the side of the road when we're driving through Yunnan, I see purple tea patches. All of that high altitude real estate was already taken when the purple tea was released. And so people, they want to get in on it. They want to make some money. They want to grow this famous purple tea. So they plant low. They plant lower. And that might be why you get really gnarly purple tea. It might have to do with the purpleness also. You know, it definitely confers a distinct character to the tea, the purpleness.
And is it also a kind of like a hot topic in China, the purple, like purple bud stuff?
Especially in the 2010s, you know, this last decade, it was much more like chaohuo, like blowed up. People, it was really popular. People were really into it. It was new. It was famous. People, and because you're coming out of an environment where purple tea, ziya cha, the naturally occurring purple tea, was very, very expensive. Anything that's expensive in China becomes a prestige luxury item. You know, they're very into that. And so people are like, oh, purple tea. And like, oh, now I can get purple tea for cheap. So I can have the prestige. It's like getting a knockoff Louis Vuitton bag. It's like, oh, well, I used to have to pay $300 for being a purple tea. Now I can pay like $25 for being a purple tea. And oh, it's like I'm living the luxurious life drinking purple tea. They're not necessarily, you know, the Chinese consumer is not necessarily aware of the difference between the ziya, naturally occurring, very rare purple tea, and the Zizhuan cloned purple tea. And there's not a lot of discernment in the market there. And so I think that it got very popular for that reason, because it was associated for so long with expense and luxury. And then when the cheaper version was released, people just jumped on it.
That makes sense. I mean, I just imagine if it's something that's new and profitable, a lot of the people who are in it, I mean, not everyone, but there's going to be a higher percentage of people who are doing that stuff just because it's trendy or marketable right now.
Exactly.
So, you know.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, people would jump on it. They're like, oh, okay, I can make, you know, everyone wants purple tea. I can get some purple tea. I'll just get a cheap little patch at the bottom of the mountain, start planting clones, and then I can make some money. And they, you know, look, China, people literally make fake chicken eggs in China. Just like, this is not to say that Chinese people are crooked, but there are crooked Chinese people just like anywhere else. And there's more Chinese people than any other kind of people. So just the law of probability, you're going to get some really shady stuff going on in China. Chicken eggs are, you know, all you have to, chickens make them for free pretty much. You just feed a chicken and they'll make eggs for you. But the fact that people would go to the trouble of figuring out how to make fake chicken eggs and then make them and sell them. Obviously, if you sell someone a fake chicken egg, they're not going to come back and buy chicken eggs from you again. They're banking on being able to sell a low quality product to a huge number of people and cash out. And so there are definitely people who do this with everything, with tea, with anything else. If it becomes popular and people are trying to get it, and you're selling stuff on Taobao and that person can't know the quality of your product. Maybe they'll give you a bad review, but so what? You've already cashed out because you've
Right.
made like hundreds of sales because you're selling this Banjiang tea or this purple tea cheaper than anybody else, and boom, you've cashed out, you've made your money. You don't need to worry about getting good reviews or having a good reputation. And so that's just, and again, this is not to say Chinese people are crooked. Chinese people are just like anybody else. There's crooked ones, there's honest ones, and I would not say that they're characteristically crooked, but the crooked ones are real clever.
So we're coming up on like the second hour now. So, you know, if there's just something that you'd like people to know about Pu'er, or, you know, what was the question I wrote for myself? Yeah, what's something that you wish more people knew about Pu'er? Imagine this is just Guanyin, but virtual. You know, you got everyone in the room, everyone's listening super attentively like I am. What do you want to say to people about Pu'er and about maybe just tea too? Just to wrap up.
So we got like I think we got like 20 minutes left. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I know we can go into like little long beautiful stories, so I want to make enough room for that.
Thank you. Good prompt. So I want to talk about Yuan Sheng Tuo. Yeah, Taobao tea is super sketch. Be careful with that one. You're saying it's like playing Minesweeper. So I'm gonna make so we've got. I want to talk about fermentation a little bit. So you've got Wodui, the big style fermentation, 1972, 1973, invented probably at the Menghai Tea Factory. People will disagree with that. Some people say Kunming, some people say Xiaguan. There's no consensus. But it uses a lot of tea. And it was originally an industrial process. It was never done by small farmers. Boom. Now we get to the turn of this last century. You've got small farmers producing their own tea. They want to ferment their own tea. They don't have 5 metric tons of tea to ferment. And so they developed the Xiaoduizi process, including Li Shu, and which is anytime you're doing a smaller process, you've got to turn it at a different rate. You know, you've got to turn it more frequently or less frequently, or there's just things that will be different about the way you ferment tea in a smaller batch. And so here, hey babe, would you do me a favor? You help me plug in my phone? Thanks. The long plug's in the room. Sorry, my phone's about to die.
Because Steven is the designated phone plugger between the two of us too.
Nice.
I'm always
I'm
always the 10% person or like the 6% person. So
perfect. Lindsay's not the designated phone plugger, but she is more responsible than I am in every measurable aspect. So her phone is usually more charged than mine. Yeah, so you've got Wodui, big, many tons. You got Xiaoduizi, up to maybe a metric ton, you know, smaller batch fermentation, and is naturally by its very nature a more artisan process. That doesn't make it better. If you're good at it, then it's good. And if you're bad at it, then it's bad. And you get that fishy taste out of it. And again, ultimately, it'll come down to the quality of the leaves. So I'm not going to say one process is superior. Ultimately, it's going to be the quality of the leaves. But then Li Shulin, he grew up drinking. So Yunnan tea culture is not all about drinking aged and fermented teas. This is from other parts of China. This is from Mongolia, Tibet, and Guangxi and Guangdong. These are the people who like to drink fermented tea. In Yunnan, traditionally, they drink fresh tea. They drink hongcha. They drink what we call shengpu'er. What's up, Terry? And so, but they do drink it, they have historically drank it, aged fermented tea as medicine. And so Li Shulin grew up drinking aged pu'er when he was sick, when he'd have a stomach ache. And so he did grow up drinking and knowing what aged pu'er tastes like. And in his opinion, sheng pu'er does not, shou pu'er that's produced in a advanced fermentation style does not taste like aged sheng pu'er. It's good. He likes it. He does enjoy drinking shou pu'er, but to him, it doesn't taste like aged sheng, which it doesn't. If you've had like very nice aged sheng, there are similarities, but they're definitely not the same. And so what he did was he developed his opinion was that the reason that aged sheng and shou pu'er taste different is that aged sheng pu'er does not get turned. There is no turning going on. You've got a being of sheng pu'er, or you've got even a pile of loose leaves sitting there. Those leaves are not being turned like compost with respect to each other. And when you turn those leaves, you're establishing a different microbial ecosystem, because in still leaves that are not being turned, you've got network forming mycelia and everything that can form these networks. When you're turning it, you're breaking up those networks, and you're giving a competitive advantage to non network forming, like just like other molds and other fungus and other molds and other bacteria that don't need to form these cohesive communities in order to survive. They like to be individuated. And so he developed a method of fermenting tea that doesn't turn it. And the trick with this is that it can be very, very difficult to control the fermentation if you're not turning it, because turning it allows you to homogenize the ecosystem, the microbial ecosystem, and it also allows you to dry out the tea. If the tea is too wet, you can turn it and spread it out, and it'll dry faster. If you can't control the humidity of the tea like that, then you can mold, like the wrong kind of mold. And if it molds the wrong kind of mold, then you got to throw the whole batch away because it's toxic. And so he developed a technique for fermenting tea without turning, and it's difficult. You can only do 10 kilos at a time, which is fractional compared to the amount of tea that you normally make, even with xiaojuizi. It's just such a small amount of tea, and it's not turned, and he controls the moisture by covering and uncovering it. He's got a bamboo tray packed with tea leaves, and he wets it down, and then to dry it out, he uncovers it, and it takes a long time to dry out. And to keep it moist, he covers it back up. And so it's very difficult. He checks it like 4 or 5 times a day. He'll stick his hand in this pile to feel it. And he's feeling the heat, he's feeling the moisture, he's smelling it, he's tasting the leaves. And so it's this incredibly artisan process. And this is it. He calls it yuan sheng tuo. And then if you've ever had, I mean, anyone out there who's had jujube, Lil Fatty, French Needle, Thang Thang, Cloud Cream, Baba Yaga, Don Cheadle, these are our, we give them these silly names because originally we would just get yuan sheng tuo and we just call it yuan sheng tuo. But the thing is, because they're fermented in these very small batches, they're essentially, each batch is like a chunk. It's not pressed. This has not been pressed like a bean. This is not from a bean. This just grows this way. The leaves just stick together. They clump together and they stick together, and you get this character to them. And that's the nature of it. And so each batch tastes different, even if they're from the same harvest, even if they're from the same year. The two, they can be sitting right next to each other, but in different trays, and you get a different character to the tea. And
that should be so crazy. That's just insane. Yeah.
And that's why we name them these silly names like Don Cheadle, is because we have to distinguish each batch from the other ones. And so we give them these different names. And yeah, so this is what I'm like really into. This is stone axe. So this is ancient tree yuan sheng tuo. So this is from ancient trees, and it's been fermented. And I think that ancient tree tea really benefits from this small style fermentation process, from this yuan sheng tuo, because it's a very organic process. And the tea trees, it's like just a bunch of tea trees just fell on the ground and they've just been sitting there molding. And I'm gonna do a nice fat pot. I'm gonna keep drinking this after the season. This is probably my favorite. This is my favorite shu pu'er. This is my favorite shu pu'er that I have had. It's ancient tree tea is my favorite kind of tea. At the end of the day, I don't care how it's processed. If it's from good ancient seed propagated trees, that's my favorite tea. And this one is ancient tree tea that's been fermented in the small fermentation style. So it checks a lot of boxes for me. And we call it stone axe.
I really want that. Yeah.
I'll send you some. It's called stone axe, and that's just a name that we gave it. Let me just rinse this guy. And then, this is probably the nicest, even though it's not old. This is from 2017, 2018. It's not old, but this is my favorite fermented pu'er, even though it's not aged or old, because the trees are old, and because it uses this small fermentation style. And the thing is, when you do this small unturned fermentation style, the yuan sheng tuo, you get a lot more complexity. Instead of just having earthiness, you get like sweetness, you get, sweet fragrances sometimes. It depends on which one it is. This one, let's see. This one, you get like a really almost savory, like umami kind of smell out of it. I guess umami is not a smell, but you get like a savory smell, almost like a meaty smell. But then there's this kind of like sweet, not floral, but like a sweet grass smell on the end. It's super complex. It's definitely much more complex than most fermented pu'er. And again, that's because of this small fermentation style, and the chi is really good because it's from these ancient leaves. So this is my Stone Axe. This is my jam right now. And yeah, I'm stoked to be drinking it. I went to the tea house and like snagged some just for this live stream because I was like, you know what? We got to drink some Stone Axe on this one.
See, I actually haven't even had Yuan Shang Tuo from you, so I think I'm gonna have to pick up some of that after this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think Ti's timing. I don't think I would have been able to appreciate it like at the very beginning, but over the last year or two, I've come across some like just alive teas. I've just started like just really understanding that concept of like, ooh, did we lose him? Wow, he just like went off so far into outer space that we lost him over in my end. He's just a little swirly screen now. Get Sohan back. Or me back.
Yeah.
There we go.
You froze for a second.
Yeah, we got you back.
Yeah. Am I who? Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, cool. There's a complex discussion going on in the comments that I'm not caught up enough on what's happening to answer it, but there we go. I was gone. Dang. Okay, cool. I'm back. Thanks, guys. It was the tea.
Cool.
It was too, the cha chi was too strong. It interfered with my signal.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, if there's some questions maybe I can like comb through them and maybe send them after the live. Is that okay with you? So we can get them answered.
Sure, yeah.
There's just so much good stuff going on the chat. But you guys are really tiny when we have the split screen, so I can't also keep up with what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was talking about how just recently I just started realizing the concept of tea can be alive, and ooh, we lost him again. Just too much. Like the tea police doesn't want us to talk about this stuff because it's just too intense.
Am I back? Am I back now?
Yeah, the TFBI is like, this information is too advanced for us to be talking about on the internet.
the TIA. Get it? Like the CIA, like the TIA.
Oh my God, the TIA. Yeah, but I just really want to try that tea now because man, I can't put it into words as well as you can, Sohan, but I've had batches of tea that are just more than tea. They kind of like evolve with the seasons. They change over time. When I travel with them, they react to when we travel, they'll change. I just really like that,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that with wild harvested, kind of abandoned tea farm white tea. I've seen that with unroasted oolong. I can't even imagine with this tea you have here. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna have to pick up some of that after the stream.
It's really, I'm just give you live tasting notes. It's super, super clear and clean tasting, which is again, like number one thing for me with pu'er is that it tastes clean. It's got depth and earthiness, but the earthiness is like, it's like there's the earth under a layer of very clean, clear spring water. And this is, I'll sometimes describe fermented teas as tasting watery. They have a water taste. That doesn't mean that they taste dilute. It means they taste like when you drink some like cold spring water when you're really thirsty and it's just like you just want to keep drinking it. That's what I mean when I say watery taste.
Yeah, I get that's pure spring water from the Nanmo too. Like your Xiaoduizi.
Yeah.
Not having had this one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the main deal for me, for sure, is getting that. As long as, and that I refer to that as like the Nanwa minerality. That's one characteristic I'd give Nanwa tea. Hey, babe, will you read this for me? But yeah, and then that was the first steeping, and that's like the main thing I got was this like really clean, clear, slightly sweet on the tongue, not sweet on the nose. And then it hits the Huigan is really far back, like at the back of the mouth into the throat. But yeah, and then like the different Yuansheng tuos, you'll get very different characters from it. This one I'd say has like that kind of savory, little bit sweet accent, and then kind of like umami taste to it. And then there's like very clean, smooth, pure. What do you mean? And Lindsay might have some tasting notes too. This one.
And if those of us, I don't have this, none of the Yuansheng actually. So if people are interested in picking some up from you, which one would you recommend they try first, including me?
I mean, I'd say they're all different. They're all really good. I think a good beginner Yuansheng tuo is like Lil Fatty that's Yuansheng tuo A. That's like if we're talking like Super Smash Brothers, Lil Fatty is Mario, you know, and and so and then getting more complex, and then Cloud Cream is really expensive now because it's over. We only have a little bit of it left, and you can't make any more of that particular one. Cloud Cream is really we call it Cloud Cream because it's got this like creamy, sweet character. And then French Needle is one of my favorites. That's got like a black pepper cardamom sort of profile. That one's complex and it's harder to make. You have to use lower temperature water. Jujube is really popular now. That's one of the new ones. Baba Yaga, and then Lucky Anchor. Lucky Anchor is a really good starting Yuansheng tuo. It's very good. It's very complex. And it was kind of the dark horse of this last batch of Yuansheng tuo. It had the least interesting name. We make up the names, but I gave it the least interesting name, and then so it kind of got ignored a little bit, and then it turned out to be like one of the best new ones of the last batch. What's up, Jeffrey? We got ZT in the house.
Oh my gosh, then, Jeff! I haven't seen that kid in a long time. He's not a kid, but people I just call that kid. So
yeah,
I call Steve a kid too.
Yeah, no, I'm a kid. So yeah, I'd say Yuansheng tuo, and then Stone Axe is the Gushu one. There's only one ancient tree Yuansheng tuo that I'm thinking now. That's Stone Axe, and but yeah, I'd say all the Yuansheng tuos are. I'd say the really good starter Yuansheng tuo are Lil Fatty, Lucky Anchor, and Cloud Cream's expensive, but it's a really good starting one. Like it's more expensive because it's done, but it's like a really, really awesome tea, and easy to make. And so those are good ones to start with. And then yeah, Lucky Anchor, Cloud Cream, and then Jujube. Jujube is like a good starting one also. But yeah, there's just all these silly names that we kind of just made up, including Don Cheadle. I need to get more Don Cheadle. We're out of Don Cheadle. That was really popular too. And then also before we're done on the live stream, I did my first Zoom Gong Fu Cha class last Friday, and it was really great. And we had 16 students, which I could never teach 16 students in a physical room. That's way too many people, but I was able to do it in Zoom. So if anyone wants to take my Gong Fu Cha class, I'm doing another one this Friday at 6 p.m. Central Time. And I'm about to post the link to the Eventbrite on my my Instagram profile, but also you can just message me if you want to get a spot. I'm limiting it to 20 spots because I can't handle more than that in one room. But it's fun, it's hands-on, and you definitely need some teaware to do it. So if you don't have any teaware at all, you need a teapot or a gaiwan, one of those things. Or even a little French press, but as long as you got something that's small and you can separate the leaves from the water, everyone gets some on-screen time, and I'll workshop your grip if you like working on pouring. I had my friend George Gauss said after many years of pouring tea, the first time he ever used a gaiwan without scalding his hand was taking my class. So very proud of that. That's a huge accomplishment. And so yeah, that's my little pitch is that I'm doing this tea class online on Friday. And then, also, Rhi, I'll make you a coupon code for all the Yuansheng tuo that you and anyone watching this live stream can use. I'll just make it Tea Curious, and you can promote it. You can share it on your Instagram, and I'll give people a 15% discount on all the Yuansheng tuo, including Stone Axe, if they want to get them off the website. So I'll do that after.
Thank you. Dude, we're super happy. Like a bunch of us were like talking West China tea the other day, and I'm like, hold on, because Sohan might have some info for us. I'm kind of glad we have left now, because we're gonna get some Yuansheng tuo. And I don't just by the way, I don't get paid by Sohan to do this. He's just really cool and stuff. And like the tea speaks for itself. And even if you've never had this tea, it's a little weird and stuff, the taste will tell you anyway. Tea curious friends, whether you like it or not, I'm going to be talking about this stuff on the Discord. And yeah, can you tell us more too about the events that you're doing, the Gongfu? Can you tell us how much it is so people can kind of plan for it and stuff?
Totally. Yeah, it's $40. And this is the intro class. So this is if you are just learning how to pour tea, it's good. Also, if you've been pouring tea for a minute and you just want to fine tune your technique, we talk about the history of tea in brief, you know, and we talk about different kinds of tea in brief, but mostly it's a hands-on technical class. And so I'm teaching how to open the tea service, what the Chinese names of all the tools are, what they do, how to use them, 3 different steeping modalities that you kind of, you know, the method that I'm teaching is that you have these 3 different modalities of steeping different Chinese teas, and you kind of, it's a spectrum, you move between them. And so a tea might start off, you know, low temperature and end high temperature. It might start off hot and fast and end, you know, hot and slow. And then pouring techniques, very, very basic pouring techniques like the Ding Dian fixed point pouring technique for Phoenix Oolongs, and what the cha dan is and how to not make your tea bitter. So it's a very technical class. I'm going to be doing a more esoteric, advanced, like internal Gongfu Cha class next week. But this week, this is my second. This is a reiteration of the class I did last week. And I've got two cameras. I got a camera on me talking, and then I've also got a camera on my hands. So it gets very in-depth and very technical. So it's a great class if you want to either refine your technique or if you're just learning how to pour tea. And then, I'll give your tea curious people a discount on it also. There's an Eventbrite up, but if people want to direct message me, then they can do it for 35 instead of 40. And I'll just do it by Venmo. So yeah.
Maybe any possibility we could do like a tea curious class, because there might be enough of us to fill a class. We'll see. I'm not sure.
Absolutely. I would love to do that.
Like I've been holding a Gaiwan for ages now, but every single time I watch someone else do it, I learn something new. Every single time. So I'm there already, you know. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
I'll DM
so
you.
Hatching Dragon, to answer your message, answer your question, there's no coupon code for the class. If you just direct message me, then I can get you on this Friday's class through Venmo. It is every Friday. I won't always be the one teaching it. I'm teaching this one. I taught the last one. Soon we'll have other West China tea people like Moncho and Eric teaching. These are people with like, you know, like 5 to 10 years of tea pouring experience.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, this week is me, and there's no coupon code for that. If you want to message me, then I'll set you up with that. And then Tea Curious on the West China Tea Company website is not live yet because I'm still doing it this year. But once we're done with this, I'm going to go on and make the Tea Curious discount code all lowercase, and it's going to give people a 15% discount on all the Yuan Sheng Tuo. And I'll just make it all fermented pu'er, all the show pu'er. I'll give it'll be a 15% discount on all the show pu'er. So yeah.
Wow, I'm super excited. You know, I've been waiting. By the way, like not only do I love his show, but the Nanro Gushu that you have is probably the Gushu that taught me to taste for Gushu, because it's just so
nice. It's
just so potent and so good. So highly recommend that and all the other stuff. I mean, I wish we had like another hour, but I gotta pee so bad.
I know, me too.
All the other like the Mabian stuff, all the stuff from like, you know, the white teas you have, the dansong, it's just all insane. So just do it. Just do it. You know, like, yeah.
Thank you so much, Rhi. It was so good. And anyone who doesn't yet follow Rhi Tea Curious, definitely follow her. She's way better at Instagram than I am. She's been doing live streams every day. So definitely check her out, follow her. And just to, like, before we sign off, like, me and Rhi have known each other for like, what, 5-6 years?
Yeah, something like that. It's been a long time. I wish I saw you more, but yeah.
Yep, she moved out to Las Vegas. But yeah, Rhi is like old school Austin Tea fam, and it's so great to reconnect with you, Rhi. It's been way too long. We should definitely do this again.
Likewise.
And if you do get some people together who want to do a class, just a tea curious people do a class, I'll definitely like do something special for y'all and hook it up. That would be awesome.
Cool,
I love to do classes with individual communities where people already have a connection with each other.
I think it's gonna be better that way too. Yeah, and everyone who's not following Sohan already, come on. I already posted it a billion times on Instagram. Go follow him. This guy is a real. Yeah, there's nothing more to say about Sohan. You know him already. You've seen this guy. He's pretty cool. He's got the craziest friggin' teas on the internet. As someone who's like navigated, been to China, been to Taiwan, been there, I still buy teas from this guy because he's just got different people have different curation, you know, and he just got it.
Thank you, Ree. I really appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
I really love
I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys. I'm glad that, you and Lindsay met. I'm glad that you guys are doing okay back there. Thanks for sharing all your projects, teas, energy with us. Let's go pee.
Look forward to meeting Steven. Yeah, let's go pee. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, that's gonna be the best pee of my life.